Monday Mystics. I hope you guys are all very, very well. My name is Radhika, and I'm super excited about another In Conversation that we're having with a dear friend of mine, Sam Garrett, who's going to just be joining the conversation very shortly. But as you're tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from, what your day's been like, what's your Monday been like. I know some of you have been back at work, or some of you have been working on the front line. And if you are, then I really appreciate all of you that are doing that. And some of you joined us earlier for our daily 1 p.m. japa. And if you did... So adding Sam to the conversation first and foremost, then we'll get going. Hey, Ram Ram Baba.
Hey, Ram Ram. Good
How
to
you
see
doing?
you.
Good to see you.
All good.
Yeah,
Just
how's
gonna
the day
turn
been?
you up a little bit so I can hear you a little
No
bit.
worries.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's such a
Of
pleasure.
course. So good to see you again. You're looking happy and healthy, which is a good sign.
Yes, feeling very good. Feeling very good. You too, you too. It's all the Japa.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. It's just been going really, really well. I mean, it's so beautiful to see this community of Bhakti yogis coming together on a daily basis, and it's growing. And I couldn't be happier, honestly. It's such a wonderful service. But how about you? What's been... Mm.
In the south of England, and yeah, just been practicing a lot, just been singing a lot and writing a lot of songs, and
Wow.
just getting out in nature and just going on really long walks and connecting to the ocean. And yeah, a lot of songs just seem to be. I gave the analogy of I feel like a midwife that is just delivering all these songs that are just sort of coming through. So and yeah, I'd love to share one later with my partner Molly. It would be
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Molly. I've never met her, but I'm excited to see because you're doing such wonderful things together. It's so nice when a partnership is engaged in service together. It gives it purpose, it gives it connection. So it's really, has it always been like that? Or did you kind of meet her after she'd been part of the journey for much longer? Or how did it go?
yeah. So when we met, she was living in California at the time. I'd been living in Portugal
Ah,
at Muji's ashram, and we both came back to London at the same point in time. We knew each other before, but we hadn't seen each other for years. And she'd been on her journey, I'd been on mine, and then when we met again, it was actually at the kirtan in I can't remember the name, the place now, but it's the underground one. I can't remember the name of it.
well,
The
in London,
yeah,
Mantra Lounge.
I think so. Yeah, it may have been,
Ah,
but it was
cool.
like I think it was like the first, like one of the first ones that I'd been to.
Oh,
And Molly
wow.
Peter. And so we came together and he said, would you love to come to Kirtan? And I said, yeah, I would love to come to Kirtan. And so
Wow.
then she went back. She actually, no, she went to India, and we'd had this like really deep connection, but she'd got her life, in California, and kind of set up there. She went off
Yeah.
to India. She was in India for some time, and then she ended up coming back to London, and then we just felt this love, and it was just kept evolving.
Beautiful.
And then the singing just and the devotion was just really part of that whole experience. It was almost like interwoven, that we'd
Yeah,
kind of connected through singing, through chanting, and through this bhakti, this bhav, as we call it, this energy.
totally.
um, and
And you
so
guys
yeah.
definitely vibe off each other. And when you're together, it just sounds so divine that it's
Yeah.
clear that there's a connection there. There's something beyond the music, in between, reading between the notes, let's say. But it's a divine love. It's like, when you're connected, and it's the same thing with me and my wife, that because we've kind of somehow managed to find a space where we can serve together a greater purpose, then somehow or the other it becomes less boring. Like, most relationships can kind of get to the point where the how are yous, what are you doing, can it doesn't really, bring any flavor to the relationship. But when you have a higher purpose, even on the superficial level, it's so fulfilling. And then to know that you're serving others, I think it gives it life. It gives a relationship real life and purpose. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to meeting her now.
Mm.
Um, but we had this topic in mind about criticism,
Mm.
and I wanted to see just off the bat if you had any thoughts, like when I say the word criticism, what comes to you? Because with anyone that's doing something, no matter how good you are, there's always going to be people that don't appreciate your art, your, you know, what you're trying to offer to the world. And I received that. I don't know about you, but maybe your experiences, the thoughts that come to your mind when we kind of pull this topic together.
Yeah, I think something that came for me, yeah, this topic of criticism, I feel like it's, yeah, it's interesting, especially like with music and with what I guess myself and Molly doing. We're really like putting ourselves out into
Yeah,
the kind of public eye, and just really sharing. And it can, I know for a lot of people that singing in itself can feel very vulnerable.
yeah,
And people can sometimes feel very, especially when we hold circles, and people come, maybe for the first time, they feel, are people going to judge me? Are they going to criticize me
yeah,
for the way that I look, or the way that I sound, or the way that I show up? Am I not spiritual enough? Am I not? So I think it's really interesting for me, because I see this kind of, the way that we as human beings, we feel from outside this kind of pressure to
mm,
almost to fit in, because we're afraid of being criticized. Um, and so, yeah, I think with what we do, we really try to encourage people to let go of other people's perceptions and what other people might think of you, and
mm,
more to just live from the heart. And I feel that the more that we do this, those things, they tend to become much more superficial, and they tend to just drop away. And the more that we're just, in the music and in the bar, in the energy field of really devotion and really love. And I
mm,
feel that, all these practices really is about coming back to the heart. It's about coming back to that space of deep presence, where we can be in relation to a higher power, to be
totally.
in communion, and to start to listen and start to see in a different way than maybe before. We are almost consumed maybe by our thoughts or by things that are going on externally. So really, for us, we're encouraging people to let go of that, let go of what other people are thinking, or what other people may
Mm,
even be saying of you, and to just really give yourself that opportunity um, to express yourself, to sing, or even
yeah,
dance, or to feel that sense of freedom. and
mm,
and I think for many of us, we feel a lot of fear about being criticized, and what may come with that. And I think for myself, I've experienced that with music and with people saying different things. And but for me, I've always had this really strong, I guess, just this strong feeling to just be myself. And in whatever way, and it's changed, of course, and it's evolved over time. But I've always, since I can remember, had this very, and it's not a kind of arrogance, but just this strength of like
yeah,
not feeling like I want to just conform to the way that other people think I should be,
mm,
but more to just live in alignment and with what feels true and right for me and my heart. And um, and I think actually with that comes a deep humility and a respect for others and how they show up, and really to appreciate the diversity of humanity and the way that life expresses itself in very diverse ways. And so I've naturally, yeah, over the years come across criticism and people saying, when I first got into the music kind of business side of things,
mm,
I became, I think I told you before, I became really dissatisfied with it, and I actually went to live in an ashram because I found that there was a lot of criticism towards, like, move away from this whole the mantras, and move away from the kind of spiritual stuff because that's not so popular. What we really want is more singing about girls and drinking,
mm,
maybe party kind of, because that's what people like and that's what's popular. And so
totally.
I came across a lot of criticism then when I started to go on a more spiritual path, and to really express myself musically. In that, um, in the beginning, I found a lot of people were, what are you doing? This is very strange. It's people didn't understand that. But then over time, I think, even I can remember now, some of those people that in the beginning criticized me would later then come to me and say, wow, I really respect
Can you
what you're
imagine?
doing. You know, I really respect that you're following your heart, and that's really inspiring actually to see. And so I think with anything, when criticism comes, it's very easy to point the finger at someone else and say, oh, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or it should be this way, or it should be that
Yeah,
way. But I think really you know, from my understanding, we should really be inspiring and uplifting each other,
completely.
and not be so quick to criticize others. Of course, there might be something that we need to point out, or something that doesn't feel quite respectful or quite true, and so in that sense we can speak to that. But I think when it comes to somebody that is really wanting to just follow this path and really um, just go on their own journey, I think that, yeah, we need to move away from the fear of criticism,
Yeah,
move away
completely.
from that fear of what other people are going to think and that judgment that might come, and actually, what do you feel? What's your
Mm.
heart saying? And let's be inspired by others, but also listen to your own truth, listen to your own heart, and follow that, and take from what's around you, and be inspired and learn, and seek to
Mm.
grow, but don't be afraid to be criticized, or to
Yeah,
live in the projection of what somebody else may have for you.
yeah. That's so, I mean, so many points there. I wish I'd written half of them down. My hands are hurting from scribbling while I'm looking at you. But yeah, so many points. One of which you was kind of leaning towards was the fact that these words have killed so many people's dreams. What will people think? It's killed countless number of dreams, countless number of passions. You know, what will they think if I'm doing this? For example, even my family, when I first started getting into spirituality, I'm sure you've shared with us previously about people thinking in the music world, what will they think of you? But in my case, it was my family sometimes saying, don't get too deep, don't express yourself too much with the singing and the kirtan. What will people think? And this point of when people are giving criticism, we have to see that there usually is some truth, because it's usually because of care or concern, or that they really want to show their love in some way, shape, or form, but it just didn't come out right. But because they pointed the finger, it always kind of creates some sort of tension between that relationship. And I think that what we can come to understand is that we may not have control over who criticizes us, but we have control of how we accept that, or how we learn from that. So that was really screaming at me when you were speaking. Another thing, when you did the pointing thing, I thought you were going to do the analogy. When you're pointing at someone, you have to remember there's three fingers pointing right back at you.
Mm.
That it's a case that try to see that before you say anything of criticism, whether it be in good intention or not, try to remember that there's three fingers pointing right back at you. That, try to see that you're only noticing that criticism because generally you notice that in your own life. You can't recognize something that you don't have in your own life. So if you're criticizing someone, then generally that quality is there, seated in the heart.
Mm.
And it's so wonderful to see that you're speaking about this concept of not being afraid of sharing love, because that's the way you give love, regardless of whether other people accept that or not.
Thank
So many beautiful points, and I want to continue this conversation. Before I do, I just want to see all the wonderful people that have joined us: Das Pavan, Dolphin Skate, Mary, Ed, Stefania, Priyanka. Wow, so many wonderful people on this conversation. Let's see, what do you guys think? Those that are listening, what do you think about criticism? Have you ever been criticized? The answer is probably yes. What was it for? How did you deal with it? What was your coping mechanism for dealing with criticism? And secondly, have you ever criticized someone else? And was it received in the way you wanted it to be received? Because 9 out of 10 times, criticism is never received in the way you want it to be,
you.
even if your intention is for it to be feedback. And so I wanted to ask Sam his thoughts around dealing with criticism in a way which was, because, this point that I was saying earlier, that we don't have control over whether we get criticized, but we do have control over how we deal with that. So do you have any words that, come to mind when we're talking about dealing with criticism?
I think something that just came as you were speaking is that, you know, I think we have to be open also, because sometimes there may be something that we may be overlooking, and we may need to even see
Mm,
within ourselves. You know, I know from myself, there have been times where my guru has said something, or someone has said something to me within a sangha or within my community that, you know, perhaps I didn't want to hear, or maybe my partner or maybe my parents have pointed out something, and somewhere in me is like, I don't want to hear that. You know, I don't want to acknowledge that criticism,
Completely.
because it can be hard to take sometimes. But actually, yeah, we can also be open to criticism if it's a constructive criticism, which can actually add value to our lives and can actually provoke a deeper introspection to maybe see something within ourselves that we've been perhaps overlooking.
Yeah.
So there's two kind of ways to look at criticism. You know, I think it's always good to be open, and at the same time, I think if it's coming with a kind of blame and a judgment of your character or how you look or how you've chosen to live your life, you know, I think then we have to question that also, and where's the motive for that coming? As you say, with your family, sometimes it's coming with a great care and a great love, and I've also definitely received that. Not so much, yeah, I mean, my parents are very, very supportive of my path, let's say, my journey, and they're very open kind of spiritually in that way. So for me, I've always had a very deep connection with them, and there's always been a great deal of support in terms of music and my spiritual path, let's say. So for me, I've never really encountered that so much, but definitely with, you know, other family members and stuff. You know, when I went to India for the first time, they
Right.
thought like, why are you going to India? What are you joining some kind of cult? Are you, you know, I remember, you know, certain people saying different things because for them it's very, very strange. You know, it's a very different culture, and not just Indian culture, but, you know, I've traveled a lot all over the world, and, you know, to Central America and even to Jamaica and different places where I've really absorbed, you know, their different cultures, and I think at some part of me that's impacted me in a very deep way. And I think sometimes there's been criticism of some kind because, again, they're not familiar, or maybe there is some fear of an unknown territory. So maybe there's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that, or you shouldn't be doing this. But maybe also within them, there could be a sense of a feeling of kind of, you know, I don't have the guts to do that. I was listening to an Alan Watts talk, and he was saying, a free and easy society loves outsiders because they realize that the man upon the mountaintop is doing for us what we don't have the guts to do, that his consciousness is one with the divine, and it's great just that there is someone like that around. And sometimes I was reflecting on that, and I was thinking about that sometimes the criticism can come when we don't understand something, when there's someone's a bit of an outsider or someone's a bit different, you know. In our culture, you know, if we think of like a mystic or a sadhu or a saint, it would be quite strange probably for a lot of people here if they just saw somebody on the street just meditating, or, you know, be like, what is going on? But, you know, in other cultures, in other countries, it's almost revered because they recognize that they are doing something that most other people, ordinary people, they couldn't do that. They don't have the guts to pursue that kind of life. So yeah, there's just
You're
something.
trying to see this point of, you know, like how you're speaking about trying to understand from that person's perspective. They might not know or understand it, and that's why they're criticizing. And that's okay, and tolerating that. You know, something that Raghunath, who's from the Super Soul Farm in just outside of New York, we had a conversation. He said, how do we deal with people that really just drive us up the wrong road, you know, like, you know, just rub us up the wrong way? How do we deal with them? And he said, there's only really one way, which is tolerance and love. That we can try our best to try and explain the situation to them, but there's just some people that just won't understand. And those that you can try and affect change in, you know, feel free to try with love. But I think it's also a case of sometimes when we get criticized, I'm just thinking in my life, there's been many instances where I'm just ready to fire back at that person of all the things that are pent up in my heart, of all the things that I think that person's doing wrong. And so sometimes it's just taking a traffic light system saying, pause, you know, have they understood? Do they understand why I'm doing this? If they don't, then there's no need. You can try and educate them. And if they still don't understand, than just love and tolerate.
Yeah.
So I got that from what you were saying, and I think it's totally true that, we have to try and see the philosophy from that person's perspective, their practice, their character, that is this person in line? Then if you feel like, okay, they're not really, then maybe I try with love to try and explain it to them.
Mm.
But at the same time, don't feel like you're hard done by if they don't get it.
Yeah.
Um, Inina says, most of the criticism is a reflection, a mirror effect of the criticizer. So mainly compassion for the criticizer. See, that needs to receive that. Thank you. That's a fantastic point. Sana from Helsinki, good to see you. Criticism is a hit on the ego. Yes, it is. If I can't take feedback, I'm still living in the deceptive world of I am this body. Wow. We can also say the same thing in a good way or bad way, the intention. Wonderful. Such great comments. Thank you, guys. Shah Sridhar, I'm actually going to look for a question if you don't mind, Shah. Let's see, I saw one earlier. Let's see where it is. Mm-mm-mm. Oh, yeah, here it is. Adventurous Bird. Sometimes it hurts to hear the hurtful sentence. How do I forgive that hurtful sentence? The question is around the process of forgiveness. Do you have any thoughts on that, Sam?
Yeah, I think that we have to, as I think as you were saying, there's this sense of understanding that I think as we see that maybe somebody is coming from a certain perspective, and so if I was in their position and had been brought up with a certain type of conditioning, whatever that may be, which we all do, we're all born into this world, and then over time we develop a certain conditioning. And so we're all perceiving life through a very different perspective. We're looking at life with our own projections, with our own ideas, and with our own hopes, and with our own, many fears and many different things that are going on. And so I think with that comes a sense of a compassion, because I feel that we can't always understand that if I was born in that place with that certain ideology and I thought that way and had been brought up in a certain environment, and so maybe I would be the same and I would have certain thoughts and feelings about the world, and
Totally.
so we're all looking at life from a very subjective viewpoint, and I think it's a very important point to make, because it's very easy sometimes to, as you say, get fired up and get very angry at somebody if they don't understand you, or they
Yeah.
criticize you,
Yeah.
but you don't understand me. Well, you can't say that. But actually I think a more wise thing to do is actually to pause and
Yeah.
to recognize and to see also the divine in them, because
Yeah.
there's something that has been my practice is that maybe I've had a disagreement with somebody, or we haven't quite, we're not on the same vibe, let's say. um,
Completely.
but even so, there's a sense of the divine, there's a sense of the soul, of the heart. And I think even though we may have different perspectives and different ways of perceiving and different ways of experiencing, I think that's okay somehow. There's a sense of like, that's okay. And there's actually even an appreciation of that. There comes this sense, for me at least on my journey, there's been this sense of even appreciating people's differences. I know, if I take my grandma, for example, she has a very old-fashioned way of viewing life, and she sees life in a very certain way, and she's very
Yeah.
fearful, and she watches the news a lot, and she perhaps doesn't see the world in the same way I see the world, but I still see God in her. I still see the presence and the love in her, and when I'm
Yeah.
with her, even though we don't have deep conversations or anything like that, I just appreciate her for her expression, and I see that it's beautiful. I start to enjoy, even though I don't agree with her in many, many ways. I
Yeah.
just can still appreciate and enjoy and actually see that all those things, they're very superficial. We might have different perspectives, but underneath all
Mm,
of that, that forgiveness, that love, that compassion
yeah.
comes because you're recognizing yourself in the other, and
Yeah.
what's different is only on the surface. That's only what's been taught to us and what we've collected along the way. But underneath that, before we came here, we were from the same source. So I think
That's so
there
beautiful.
there comes that recognition.
Yeah, seeing the commonality, seeing that we're all actually connected, we're all brothers, sisters. And it's so important actually that before we come to a point of criticizing someone else, that's also in our control. We can control how we react to criticism and whether we give criticism. And in giving criticism, we should first see, have I walked a mile or even a step in that person's shoes? Have I seen from that person's perspective before I say anything? And then something else came to mind, which was along the train of thought of, um, you know, this commonality that you're speaking about, that we're all connected, and therefore, why should I hate? Why should I envy? Why should I judge? Why should I criticize my brother, my sister? If it's a case of education, then we can check ourselves. Am I the right person to say this? Is it the right situation, circumstance? Is what I'm saying true and not subjectively, but objectively true? And I think a combination of these kinds of things can help us to make the right comments at the right time if we really feel they're necessary. I saw a beautiful comment here by Kate. Thank you for joining, Kate. What about self-criticism? We could go off on one. I'm just looking at the time. Kate, we're going to do a part two of this, I promise. But you wrote a comment above. I think people are often frightened to be inspired to look inside when that might find themselves lacking. And it's easy to criticize someone than to be forced to criticize themselves. Totally agree, Kate. Thank you. Like I said, because time is of the essence today, and I'm really keen to hear Sam express himself through the medium of music. I wanted to see if you wanted to share with us at some point. I don't know if Molly's in the background or if she's in the room.
She's over here. Yeah, she's on a call, but I think she can come.
Ah, sweet.
Yeah, she's coming. Wonderful. Yeah,
Okay.
we're gonna sing a song that we've just been writing. It's quite a new song. As I said, we've been having so much time during this quarantine that we've been writing so much. And yeah, this is a new song, and it's called Asatoma, and it's partly in Sanskrit and
Hey,
partly
Molly.
in English.
I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
hearing
so
it.
this
For
is
you guys that are watching, please hit that love button, strike a load of comments for encouragement, and I'm sure Instagram will spread this far and wide so more people can join us in this beautiful conversation, and of course in this offering that Sam's going to sing with us. Asatoma. You were saying, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, me and Molly, we have an online platform called Gather, and this is where we share our music and our offerings. We also share meditations. I read stories that have really touched me by different saints and different beings around the world. And I know that there's a link in the comments there below. So if you do feel what we share, then please do join us and support us also.
Yes. Hello.
Hey, lovely to meet you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Next time we got to do this as the three of us.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we shall.
Mm.
Good.
Mm. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, yeah. Ooh, Asatoma Sat Gamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Richo Orma Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya Asatoma Sat Gamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Richo Orma Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya am beyond the darkness. I am beyond the light. Lead me from the unreal, from fear into eternal life. I am beyond the darkness. I am beyond the light. Lead me from the unreal, from fear into eternal life. Asatoma Sat Gamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Ritual Orma Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya Asatoma Sat Gamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Richoorma Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya Amaritam Gamaya. I am beyond the darkness. I am beyond the light. Lead me from the unreal, from fear into eternal life. I am beyond the darkness. Yeah, yeah, I am beyond the light. Lead me from the unreal, from fear into eternal life. Higher, higher, rise on, higher, 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 rise on, higher, 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 rise on, higher, 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 rise on, higher.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Wow.
Thank you, brother.
Oh, you guys are angels without, maybe I can't see them. Maybe the wings are there. I was going to say angel without wings, but I can maybe see them if I squint long enough. Oh, it's so beautiful. My God. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityor ma amritam gamaya. I love this mantra so much. This composition you came up by like together, or you heard
Yes.
it? Wow, it's unbelievable, unbelievable. What was the inspiration behind writing this song? Because I know that the lyrics were just so, so wonderfully in tune with the mantra as well.
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversation about whenever we're inspired by things, it's very easy to slip into this tendency of like, oh, now we've got it, you know, this is really great and this is good. And
Yeah.
especially when we've gone into more activism, and
Right.
there's been this tendency that's very natural for that to turn into like, this is the way and this is good and this is bad. And I always remember this is one of the first songs that I used to open Kirtan with, and just that feeling of actually we always came back to the place of we're beyond both.
Yeah.
And it often took many journeys into that sense of duality and polarity to continuously remember that. And so often for us, when we feel like a lesson really deeply, the best way for us to remember this is to write a song about it. And so
Awesome.
the words of I am beyond the darkness, I am beyond the light, lead me from the unreal, from fear into eternal life. I think they may have come first, and then it's like, okay, this is perfect for the Asatama mantra. And then so often we'll then use, you know, a mantra that of course is already existing. I think this mantra is 6,000 or more years old.
Yeah.
And so the power that's inherent within that is already there and vibrating. And so then we just add our own melody and our own lyrics, and yeah, begin
It
to
so
share.
perfectly comes in tune with our topic today of criticism. I know you were on a call before, but it's just that, you know, before we give criticism or before reacting to receiving criticism, if we just remember this mantra, you know, just remembering the meaning of this mantra can help us to overcome a passionate reaction or, you know, feeling too downtrodden. Just remembering that actually, please send me from darkness to light. Please allow me to remember that I'm beyond this. Please allow me to remember. And it's that mantra which even now is pulsating in the heart. And I'm sure many people, I can see all the love flowing in. So it's definitely touching people. I mean, we were talking about criticism, and I wanted to see, Molly, because you've just joined us and we still have a few seconds left. How do you deal with criticism? How do you deal with other people giving feedback that doesn't quite strike the positive chord in the heart? Do you have any thoughts, any advice?
Yeah, absolutely. I've definitely struggled with this a lot. I think particularly as I venture into areas that I'm not so confident in.
Yeah.
And we have what I call like the space of creativity is about the learning zone, right? Where we're pushing our edge just enough that we're still learning, but we're not in like a trigger zone or a place where we're no longer able to learn because actually we're almost in shock. And so I like to really venture into those places where I feel like I'm still growing and I'm still learning. And naturally that comes mainly with self-criticism, because the learning curve, you're moving beyond fear of, oh, I don't know how to do this. And in those moments, I think the most important thing for me is coming back to beyond that, what is true. So, okay, I'm trying this new thing, whether it's a new song, a new way of playing the harmonium, a new artistry, whatever it is, a new way of teaching. And within that, why am I doing it? And I think if I remember the why beneath the reason why the why is the reason why I'm doing it, as opposed to the outcome of the actual thing, it keeps me a little more grounded and a little more connected to, okay, that may have not been the easiest experience. However, what is the reason I'm doing this? Okay, for us, it's for devotion, for love. And so, yes, we could struggle through like, oh, well, that doesn't sound good yet, and we're not enjoying this yet because it's not easy. But I feel for me, I've really reframed and continue to practice to reframe like challenge as opportunity. Like, wow, if that is challenging me, how beautiful is that? What an opportunity is that to, one, learn and move my edge and be in this learning zone, but also just to receive that self-criticism in a different way within myself. And we've always said for us that singing is such a mirror, you know, coming together with both of our like creative ideas and putting them into songs to create has probably caused our most beautiful moments and our least beautiful moments in our relationship.
Yeah, I think most people will vibe with that. And what you said about the mirror of the heart, there's this verse that just pops into my head. It's written by Sri Chaitanya, and he says, Chaito Darpana Marjanam. I won't repeat the whole verse. The heart is like a mirror, and the mantra is like a sweeper. And by chanting, by singing with love and devotion, the mantra will sweep the heart clean, revealing true beauty that lies beyond. And as you were saying this, it's so true. Every time I feel downtrodden by with either self-criticism or other people judging or criticizing, if I can just sit myself in front of a harmonium for 20 minutes and just sing when nobody else is watching, no Instagram channel, no other people applauding in the background, just being there trying to cry out with any devotion that's in the heart. It's before you know it, when you walk out of that space, you think, what was I even thinking of? What was that criticism? Oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. Whatever it was, it was. Just can brush past it. The sweeper of the mantra will clean up the heart. So I really vibe with that. Thank you for sharing that. Before we go, I wanted to see if you guys had either one of you or both of you had a tip for our time. This is something that every time me and Sam speak, we always have Sam sharing a tip for our time, something that you're currently practicing or something that you're currently thinking about that you'd like to share with others that maybe be uplifting for others.
Do you want me to share? Sure. For me, at the moment, I think enjoying the process is a really big lesson. So I work with, my main work is as a coach and a mentor for people. And we're so often striving to get to the goal, which is amazing. Creating clarity around the vision is a massive part of it, right? But
Totally.
if from A to B we're not really enjoying and learning and growing also within ourselves, I feel like something is, in my experience, lessened. And if we can really set the intention that as we're moving with intention and we're in this, like, this is what I'm visioning, this is what I'm manifesting, this is what I'm creating in my life, also coming to that with the intention of experiencing everything in its fullness and enjoying the journey instead of being in this rush. I think what's been brought up for us and a lot of people during this time is the sense of like, I'm not meeting things as quickly, or I'm not, you know, all these plans I had, all this stuff I had to do. So it's like our journey has somehow lengthened. It's like it's been elongated, and so in that we're having to really just pause and taste it in a different way. So let's enjoy being able to taste the journey from A to B as opposed to just, we're so goal oriented, and I love that. I'm very practical and I love working with strategy and business and all of these things, and yet I think for me practice and devotion is also what gives it, it's like the nectar to all of that. So,
totally. There's this nice Chinese proverb which talks about how there was a poor man who wanted to see gold. And so he goes to the king and he says, "Dear king, please, I'm about to die. I'm really poor. And my last desire is I'd like to see some gold." And so the king says, "Sure, just climb up these stairs on my right. And you'll see that at the top of the stairs, there'll be a room which is filled with golden ornaments." And so this poor elderly man, he's running up these stairs. He gets tired halfway through and he goes, "Oh no, I really want to see gold. It's like my last desire." Gets to the room. He opens the door and he looks inside, and there are all these shimmering articles of gold. And then he does a double take and he looks down at the steps, and all the steps are golden. So it's very much indicative of what you were saying, that enjoy the process, really be, sometimes we're so hung up on, I must be this perfection X, that we forget that progress is just as important. And so that really vibes. I'm totally feeling that. Be in the moment, be in the process, enjoy the progress, be with the process. Thank you so much, Molly. Sam, anything to share?
What would I like to share? I think just to honor your, again, what I was saying earlier is just to honor your heart, you know, and really be true to what feels true for you, and don't worry, you know, when criticism might come, or you feel afraid of criticism, or we feel scared about being judged by others, or, you know, about society as a whole, or, you know, our culture, or these different things. I think, yeah, something that I really want to get across is just to really follow your heart. Like, do not be afraid what anyone else thinks of you or anyone else may say. And to really just be true to that, and nobody else can know that truth but you. And it can be very easy, you know. I've definitely had this tendency to to see something and just identify with it, and actually something that I'm really seeing now is just to honor myself, honor my own heart, and not to be afraid, and not to
Wow.
be so quick to identify with something, some idea or some image, but just to really stand in your own presence, in your own power, and allow your light to shine in the world.
Allow your light to shine. I fully feel you on that, brother. Don't allow others to dictate whether you're going to follow what you love or not. Forget what other people will think. Otherwise, you'll spend your whole life thinking.
Yes.
So I really appreciate, wow, you guys are a power couple. I really want to do this more. This is really so, so beautiful. But I want to thank Sam and Molly for their beautiful time today. I want to appreciate everyone that's on here. Mira, Litsa Yoga, to all the way through to Stefania. Wow, so many wonderful souls. So good to see you, Kristen, Angs, Angel, Ania. Thank you all so much for being here. Of course, please share your gratitude, hit that love button, share some love in the comment section, some encouragement. And we want to pray for Molly and Sam that they may remain strong, healthy, and also deeply rooted in their practice, that they may share it with thousands, if not millions of people across the world. And in that way, affecting hearts which may change or may transform so that others can see their own potential and can live to their own true potential and be able to love others and share with others. So thank you so much, Sam and Molly, for your beautiful, beautiful grace and time with us. I want to, of course, tell everyone, please don't forget to click on that link. It's www.patreon.com/gather. You'll have a ton of content on everything that Sam and Molly are doing. It'll keep you connected to their teachings, their sharing, their mantra, their music, meditation. Everything they're doing is going to be via this patreon.com/gather. So please do click on that, or just type it, go straight to your Safari right now and just go and do it. Then check out what's going on there. So please do that. And if you're interested, then of course, tomorrow we have our daily japa session, which is happening at 1 o'clock, which has grown. We started with like 10, 15 people, and now it's 35, 40 people joining us on a daily basis, chanting together. So please do join us. It's a beautiful space for meditation, for chanting, for breath work. And it's a really nice way for me to remain out of boredom and connected with all of you. So please do join us. But otherwise, Sam, Molly, any final words before we go tonight?
Love you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Love is right back at you.
And also on Wednesday evening, we're going to be sharing a cacao ceremony and
Wow.
a kirtan, of course, online via our Patreon page, which is in the link. So it's going to be a full ceremony into
What time, sorry?
song circle. It's at 7 p.m. British Standard Time. So that's 11 a.m. PST.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So Wednesday at 7 p.m. UK time. Please do check it out. Gather, patreon.com/gather. Anyway, lots of love, guys. Hopefully we'll do this again soon.
Thank you.
Haribol, Ram Ram.
Haribol, Haribol.
Mm.